Hi there. Greetings, salutations. My name is Jake Ware. That's Derek Schultz. Derek, is this 191?
192, I think. Yes, I'm getting a 2 sign from Vince.
Who was number 1 in 1992? Can you tell me the winner in all 4 sports? Something
in all 4 major American sports?
Unusual happened with sports championships of 1992.
1992, let's see. The Bulls were the champions of the NBA.
Okay.
1992, it was the Cowboys in the NFL. Redskins were 91, right?
I always get confused by...
Yeah, Redskins were 91. I do the Bills in order. Giants,
but here's
Redskins,
the thing.
Cowboys,
Are you going by who won in January of 92?
Season. Nobody says, hey, remember the 1986 Bears?
Right,
It's 85. 1992 World Series Blue Jays?
No.
Didn't they win 92 and 93?
No,
Twins won 91?
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
And then, oh, God, who knows hockey? Wasn't it were the Penguins in the Cup final and they lose to somebody?
No, 92, the 93 Stanley Cup was the Montreal Canadiens, which was the last Canadian team. I forget who won in 92.
I don't know.
But college basketball, 92.
Duke,
correct.
Repeat.
So, and I always forget the year here, but from 91 to 92, like within a 12-month span, the Metrodome in Minneapolis hosted the Final Four, the Super Bowl, the World Series.
Yeah. Cool.
And I think it's the only stadium to do
I
that.
thought you were going to say because all those teams basically repeated, right? The Bulls repeated, the Blue Jays repeated. Duke was in the
I was just thinking about the Minneapolis, but I guess it was more 91 because the 91 the 91 World Series was the Twins and that was the Game 7 1-0 game, right? Twins and Braves.
Yeah, but my point is that of the 92 champs, every single one of those either was repeating or about to repeat.
Yeah, that's
right. Outside of hockey, because we don't know enough about it. Sorry.
By the way,
sorry.
Are the Minnesota Twins now the most random franchise in baseball?
Yeah, I mean they're up there. You know, the Twins are very much, and I know they won 2 World Series, right? They're kind of like the Pacers of the Major League Baseball.
That's fair.
They have been good far more often than they've been bad.
Correct.
Far more
That's
often. Right. But just good enough. You know, not great, but just good enough.
Right.
But they did win 2 championships, and that's something that, at least in the NBA history, the Pacers
by the way, in '87 when they won the World Series, the Minnesota Twins over the St. Louis Cardinals, what was unique about that World Series?
No idea.
I believe that was the first 7-game series in World Series history where the home team won every game.
If I were to pick at random any year that you could tell me the most about, it would be 1987, right? That is the pinnacle of your life.
Undoubtedly.
It's the pinnacle. 1987 is the best year of Jake Quarry's life, the best year for Indianapolis, Indiana.
The
best year for music, according to him.
It was great.
The best year for sports, according to him.
87 was awesome. I was in the 8th grade at Eastwood, living on the high hog.
You were at your apex.
Oh, I peaked for sure. Reading Watership Down for the first time.
You know, speaking of, we were joking about the fact that neither of us can name the 92 Stanley Cup final. I'm not going to spend a whole segment, but of course, last night, we're taping this right now very early on Tuesday morning. Last night, the Stanley Cup was decided.
Yep.
Where
did you watch?
I did a little bit. I always watch the ceremony because I think it's one of the better things that they do in sports. But Edmonton was down 0-3. They came all the way back to force a Game 7 and ended up losing 2-1. I find it very interesting that 10 times in the NHL, a team has forced a Game 7. You know, it's only happened 3 times in the NBA where they're down 0-3. And would you believe that more often than not, the team that has rallied to force the Game 7 has lost?
I believe that.
In Game 7?
Yeah, you run out of steam. Actually, what happened in this particular case was Edmonton was down 3-0, and Florida had done a remarkable job of neutralizing Connor McDavid defensively and using shifts defensively to kind of limit him. And then he got going. They tie it up at 3 games apiece, and then in Game 7, he only got, 2 shots on goal through the first 2 periods. So very much limited what Edmonton could do at that point.
We talking puck here? What happened? You just turned into like Barry Melrose for 90 seconds.
Less the mullet, right? Come on.
Shift changes? What? I don't know. I am the biggest noob ever when it comes to ice hockey, but I will say my favorite live sports experience is live hockey.
Hockey
Absolute
is fun.
Favorite. The sounds, the feel, like it hits all of your senses.
Derek, I have come to the conclusion that hockey, I've always said, hockey is a lot like auto racing. if you grow up in a market that knows it and watches it and has an event, you understand it and you appreciate it and you enjoy it. But if you grow up outside of it, it's like it's a niche sport,
No,
right?
100%.
Now, I think with hockey, a lot of people, myself included, get intimidated or back away from going all in because they assume it's more complicated than it is. And I don't think that it is. I'm not saying it's not a complicated sport, but I think that those that don't know it are like, I don't have any idea what's going on. And once you learn the sport, I don't think it's really that difficult. Now, before we get to talking about the NBA draft, we got a lot to talk about, by the way, and we want to thank Bailey & Wood, as always, for being our presenting sponsor here. BAWFG.com is the website for Bailey & Wood. Love Heating and Air, Hoagies and Hops, Chateau Kitchen, a lot of great folks involved in this podcast, and we are very much appreciative of all of them. We'll tell you about all of them over the course of the show today. But we'll get to the NBA draft. We'll get to what the Pacers are going to do. There's a lot to talk about, but I will say this for hockey, Derek, before we move on. Mike Byron, who you know.
Yeah.
Scott McConnell, another buddy of mine. We decided. Now, I think I told you several years ago I sent letters to all the NHL franchises telling them that I was declaring my free agency as a fan. And in that capacity, I selected the Calgary Flames as my team. They went to the Cup Finals that year, and the Flames are cool. I'm on board with the Flames, right? Having said that, I decided that I need one other team. McConnell, Byron, and I decided that starting next year, we are going to pick a team strictly as the motivation for us to have a group text to stay in. Byron and I talk all the time, but McConnell lives in Chicago. Just to constantly be talking about a team and be on board, and we're going to all three try to follow pretty actively. And then at the end of next season, we're going to go for like a homestand on a weekend to this team's home city, drink beer, have fun, watch the games. And we wanted to pick a team that was reminiscent of or resembled the Pacers that we grew up with. Down on their luck team that we're not bandwagoners this way, and it isn't necessarily like the glitz and glamour. I mean, anybody could be like, bingo, yeah, I'm a fan of the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, that'd be easy.
The Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. So, do you want in? We got a group text and everything. Do you want in?
Oh no, I'm a huge Rangers fan. Yeah, big Rangers fan. They have to make at least the conference semifinals before I start paying attention, and then I actually start watching the games if they make the conference finals. So, yeah, I'm a really big Blue Shirts fan. So I already have a team, already spoken for.
Okay. There was a player on the 94 New York Rangers when they won the Stanley Cup with the same initials as the Colts starting quarterback. Who is it?
A.R.?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. Adam Graves, Mark Messier, Steve Larmer, Mike Richter.
I'm sorry. I was thinking it was Adam Richter.
No, Mike Richter, the goalie.
Adam Graves, that's right. He was
Adam Graves.
Defenseman or wing?
He was a defenseman.
Or forward?
No, I think he was Graves was a
Sorry,
defenseman.
my apologies. I was thinking it was
I'm
Adam
wrong.
Richter. Mike Richter was the goaltender.
See, you think you know. You were at the parade, though, weren't you?
Who was the backup goaltender?
I have no idea.
I think it's Mike Van Beesbrook, right?
Yeah, no idea.
Buffalo Sabres, all in. You in?
No, I already have a team. Rangers. Plus, in-state rivalry wouldn't work. Oil and water.
Yeah, there's
Sabres
nothing in
Rangers.
common between Buffalo and Manhattan.
I want to say we've been together on this show for like 12 years. This is easily, we're 5 minutes in, five and a half minutes in. This is the most that we've ever talked hockey consecutively.
You're right. Bob Kravitz is loving it. Greg Poley's loving it, right?
But I love, what I love about hockey fans is that hockey fans are hockey fans. Like,
you're right.
There really isn't such thing as a casual hockey fan, right? I think the diehards are really It reminds me a lot of IndyCar fans. People aren't like fly-by-night IndyCar fans. If they're IndyCar fans, they are IndyCar fans.
Is hockey of the four major sports? Is hockey the one that the fewest number of people you could pull out of the stands and put them out there and they could play a game?
Yeah, because the skill level. I mean, the skill level in all major.
I mean, I guess the NFL, you'd be in some serious trouble, right?
But physically, but yeah,
just to skate, right?
That whole term, now that we're in 2024, I think four major sports still worked in like the 90s. I don't even know. We have 1.5 major sports right now.
That's fair.
We have the NFL and I think college football when it's really cooking and you're in the South or the Midwest or the Southwest.
That's fair.
I think we have and the NBA Finals. I think we have 1.5 major sports.
But, Derek, we have the NBA draft to discuss, and that is probably topic number one here on this What are we in now? The first, second week of June? No, third week of June?
Yeah,
Fourth.
God.
End of June.
Yeah, we're at the end of June, my man. Yeah, we're a week away from 4th of July
I was
weekend.
thinking July. Sorry,
Yeah,
my
it's
brain's
wild.
kind of scrambled. But, the draft typically is kind of a high point of discussion, but this year a little bit different because for the Pacers, we're back to, and this is a sign that things are going well when you're not overly involved in, gosh, who are they going to take in a lottery pick, top 10 pick. And this also is a year where when you look at like who's in the lottery, who's going to be the number 1 overall pick, I mean, it's a pretty dry year, right?
Yeah, according to everybody. I mean, I'm not the draft expert here, but according to everybody that I've read, they're talking about this as an historically weak draft. Like not only is there not a frontline star level player in their eyes projected as that, but this isn't even really a draft that has a whole lot of depth either.
Right.
As far as that's concerned, but it's a good chance for, two guys in Zach Edey and Kel'el Ware who are good, not great prospects to elevate themselves. I mean, I think in a normal year, Zach Edey is probably not projected as a lottery pick. In a normal year, Kel'el Ware might not be projected as a top 20 pick, but both of those guys, for the most part, are. I mean, it varies depending on who you look at, but, I saw Zach Edey as high as 11 in the Athletics mock draft, and I saw Ware as low as, the mid-20s. But both of those guys firmly are first-round picks, it looks like.
Which one would you like to begin with?
I guess we should start with Edey, right? Because he's the most polarizing. It depends on who you talk to, on how they feel about how he projects as a pro.
Zach Edey to me, Derek, is you're shopping for a new car, right? And you go to the car lot, and they've got one like really nice. You're like, wow, that's a really nice car, but it comes from like kind of an off Asian country that isn't really like been around the car market for a long time. But it's like, man, I don't know. Car and Driver says they're putting out really nice vehicles, and that's a really nice car, but I'm not sure how long it's going to last. And you look through, and there are others that have bigger bells and whistles and glitz and glamour, and then in the end, you're like, you know what? I'm just going to get a nice, really nice Honda Accord because it's going to last me for 10 to 12 years. I know exactly what it can do. I'm not going to ask too much of it, but it's going to be totally reliable. That's Zach Edey. And that's why Zach Edey – and I think that Zach Edey has a bigger skill set than people anticipate.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's going to be a better shooter than people think. I think he's got more range than people realize. He didn't need to do that in college. He didn't need to exhibit it. But his footwork is so drastically improved in the 3 years that he played in college. I think you do have a general idea at this point of what the ceiling is for Zach Edey, though. And the ceiling for Zach Edey is a really good 10 to 12 year, Brook Lopez type player. Now, he doesn't have maybe the speed to get down the floor fast enough in an up-tempo game. But if you are coming out of a timeout and you need a basket, if you need somebody to go in and just lock down defensively and protect the rim, Zach Edey there is absolutely a place for him. And the combination of the fact that he's going to be around a long time and you have a pretty good idea who he's going to be, and if anything, the only thing that you don't know, the unknown could be the additional, the plus side, and this year's draft, I think he is slotting right now, Derek, somewhere between 12th and 18th. I think when you get into the outside of the lottery, you're starting to think about him as a possibility, and a team might take a flyer. And I think by the time you get to 18, he's going to be gone.
Who he kind of reminds me of, and somebody that we just saw in the pros and who was a very effective player in his series against the Pacers is Isaiah Hartenstein of the Knicks.
Yes.
Right? Where he can, Zach Edey can pass. A lot of guys that are that big can't pass. And he's a good passer. He has an underrated shot. I think he's underrated athletically. I think what you worry about with Edey is that in today's NBA, you need your big to be able to shoot from the outside and switch multiple positions, right? And even though I think Edey has more lateral quickness than people give him credit for, he's not going to be able to switch on a lot of players in the NBA due to the quickness and the athleticism.
But his length, though, he doesn't have to be there, right?
Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, these guys are quick. It takes, a split second for them to – all they need is a little bit of breathing room to get to the rim. But, other people have mentioned Steven Adams, kind of an old-school throwback big. There's a place in the league for Zach Edey. I feel that very firmly. I just don't think there is much potential beyond if he can crack a starting lineup. I think that's a big win for Zach Edey.
The pace, pardon the pun, in which Indiana plays is the one thing that would make it difficult for Zach Edey. But realistically,
he's not a fit here.
But see, I disagree. I think in terms of what he can bring to the table, Zach Edey is exactly what the Pacers need. But with the fast pace they play, so situationally, he's exactly what they need. Cases where, like, you're going up against Hartenstein, for example. Indiana was so beaten badly in the New York series on the boards, and and then in addition to that, the pick and roll that's possible with Halliburton, but it's only in half court sets where he would be effective, and Indiana wants to get away from that. So I get that.
Yeah, I think if you're arguing that Zach Edey would be a changeup that the Pacers could lean on, because they don't really have anybody, no one really has somebody exactly like Zach Edey, right?
Right.
As a wild card, I could buy into that. I don't see him as a great fit for their core principles on offense are completely opposite, I think, from what Zach Edey brings.
Now, the other side of it, in terms of local interest, is that of Kel'el Ware. And Kel'el Ware is somebody that, from a skill set, Derek, in terms of what he can do and what his ceiling is, could be athletically and in terms of what he can bring to the table and what his ceiling could be, he could be a top 5 pick. The question with Kel'el Ware, and this is not a knock on him, I want to make sure Indiana fans realize this is not a knock on him. The question with Kel'el Ware from analysts, scouts, people that are looking over it is simply whether or not he's in love with the game of basketball. There are certain guys that you look at and you go, are they playing the game of basketball because they love it, or are they playing because they're 7'1" and they have a natural skill set for it? Yeah. It's like, no, okay. And there's question that Kel'el Ware falls under that second category. There's a reason why, as a 5-star can't-miss player, he goes to Oregon with Dana Altman and gets buried, right? And then at Indiana, I mean, they did uncork some things out of him, and I think he showed he's got a really impressive skill set. Question is, how badly does he want it? And that hesitation, he's going to be a boomer bust guy, I think. I mean, he could be he may be the most skilled player in the draft. But I think that other part of it is a question mark.
I think if you are worried about that, and that's a legitimate concern and something that's just going to follow him because of what happened at Oregon, right? If you're really concerned about that, watch his last 6 weeks at Indiana.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he was one of the 5 or 6 best players in the Big Ten over the closing stretch. And the problem is that Indiana was losing just about every game, right? I mean, it was all about Mike Woodson, and there was so much fervor around the program that and negativity around the program that I think people weren't able to truly appreciate how good Kel'el Ware became by the end of the year. I mean, he was fantastic. You know me, Jake, I try not to get really super carried away with knee-jerk stuff or kind of in-the-moment stuff. And again, I always preface by saying I'm not an NBA scout. I think he has the potential to be a fantastic player. I really do.
I think scouts would agree with you.
Yeah. Now,
he also has the potential to be...
Yeah, floors here, ceilings here, whereas Edey, it's like this, right? I think that's kind of the difference between those two guys, but I think there is something there. If you could really tap into it with Kel'el Ware, I think there's absolutely something there.
And somebody may take that flyer.
Yeah.
It's going to be probably in the – I think with Ware, the window starts opening around 15, 16, and he probably goes more 19 to 25.
Yeah, I think with Ware, probably the over-under on where he's selected is like 20.5, whereas with Edey, it's probably like 16.5. Is that fair?
You know what? Let's pull up the draft order, and just for fun, we're going to make prognostications. We're going to make predictions here.
What? I don't even. If you ask me about those two French guys, I don't know anything about Sarr or the other dude. I haven't paid any attention at all to the top of the NBA draft board because I just don't care. I don't care. The Pacers aren't picking until 36. We didn't even mention that. They've got 36, 49, and 50. They're probably not going to – well, they're definitely not going to keep all three of those selections. I've heard some other Pacer-centric media talk about, who's the second-round pick? You can make up a person right now and say, whatever. Can they defend? Are they a wing player? Great. Then Pacers should draft them.
We're going to determine right now where Zach Edey and Kel'el Ware go. Okay. I'm going to read you picks 15 to 25.
Okay.
Miami, Philly, the Lakers, Orlando, Toronto, Cleveland, New Orleans, Phoenix, Milwaukee, back-to-back Knicks, and Washington Wizards.
It'd be awesome if Zach Edey went to Toronto Wouldn't that be cool for his hometown?
His hometown, yep.
Yeah. Edey to the Knicks, as we mentioned, I think is a fit. And if I'm not mistaken, Hartenstein's a UFA, I think. He might be an RFA. I'm not sure. Let me look and see.
Unrestricted or restricted?
I don't remember what year he was drafted even or signed or whatever. Let's see. Isaiah Hartenstein contracts. Let's see. He signed a 2-year, $16 million contract with the Knicks. Yeah, he's a UFA.
Okay. Drafted. I'm gonna say that Zach Edey goes to Miami. 15th overall.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say that Kel'el Ware goes to Orlando at 18.
How about maybe the Bulls? Bulls look to be kind of like making wholesale changes right now for Edey.
The Bulls are drafting 11th.
Ooh, that's high though.
Yeah,
yeah, that's high. No, I don't think he's going to go that high. Some of these teams, though, Jake, we don't know what exactly they're going to do. Like, I can't tell you that I'm an expert on the Toronto Raptors systematically. You know what I mean? Like, what they're going to want to do. I mean,
by the way,
Zach Edey, it's going to take a team that really – it's going to take what Golden State did with Trace Jackson Davis. They have to have a firm, defined role for him where he can excel.
That's fair.
You know, if Trace Jackson Davis was drafted here, he wouldn't have even probably seen the floor.
Trace Jackson Davis told Indiana that. He knew that.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, he probably wouldn't have – there wouldn't have been a lot of minutes for him probably.
By the way, the Pacers pick, they got it from Toronto. Toronto got it from Philly. Philly got it from the Clippers, and the Clippers got it from Memphis.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? I mean, these picks just go – one of my favorite stats ever – on how far these picks can convey out. The pick that Utah used on Gordon Hayward in 2010 was originally traded by the Knicks and Isaiah Thomas in the Stephon Marbury deal. And that was 8 years prior.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it was like to Utah from Philly, Dallas, Toronto.
Yeah, it's like a hot potato.
Vancouver
somebody
Grizzlies.
Eventually take it, please.
Yeah, it's just wild how it works. But I will be watching because I think Ware, am I right in saying you're on the radio every day, you know your audience. Ware and Edey is the only relevant thing.
Yeah, I would agree
here.
with that.
No one cares about who the Pacers are going to
Where are they going? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, where are they going and when they go?
Did you see what I did there?
Well, it's not just where, it's who they go to. And when they go.
But where are they going?
Well, we don't know.
I
somewhere,
know, but what I'm saying is
somewhere in the late teens, probably.
But one of the questions is where, right?
Which team picks them? Yes, I'm interested to see because I think you really have to create a defined role for Zach Edey, and I think he can be an NBA player and be an effective one. It's just you have to carve out a niche for him.
Okay.
Time for our Hoagie and Hero of the Week. It's brought to you by our friends at Hoagies and Hops, 42nd and Boulevard.
Edey, also a common sports talk center point in conversation, just so you know. Not like Ware.
This is – I'm not going to say it's my favorite. The Hog is my favorite. This is real close. This is the Shipyard from my friends at Hoagies and Hops. There we go. Give me a wide shot here, buddy. Oh, wait. Hold on. Yep. That's fine. Actually, let's go to this one right here. I want to zoom in. Yep. Okay.
Turn it sideways so people can see what's in
there we go.
No, the other way, Derek. Turn it.
Yeah, look at that.
this way.
Yep.
No, like tomato facing towards the
look
camera.
At that. Whoop.
There. Thank you.
Yeah. Look at that. So what we have here is the Shipyard. This is a tuna sandwich. I know what you're saying. Psh, a tuna sandwich. I can make a tuna sandwich. I've been making tuna sandwiches for 40 years. This is way better. It's way better than any tuna sandwich you've made or your mom's made or your grandma's made or your auntie's made, whatever else. So this is house-made tuna salad. Little oil, little parm, little peppadew pep, little lettuce, little prove. Perfect combo.
No, the perfect combo is a sandwich with the taste of summer, which is the 500 miles high, light American lager from Chili Water. Perfect.
Excuse me.
Can you wait?
I had a peppadew pep go around the wrong pipe.
I'm sitting here talking about this fabulous beer, the chili refreshment, the Chili Water refreshment. Perfect. This is a perfect, by the way, not only Indy 500, but 4th of July beer right here, the 500 miles high. It's a perfect, summertime, light, crisp tasting beer. Goes perfectly with the...
We're fizzing over here. We're fizzing.
Perfectly with the tuna, and Derek's over here burping and belching and... Come on.
Oh, that's good. That's a great track beer. Brickyard's coming up. Something to think about for that. What I was going to say before Peppadew Pep went down the wrong pipe. The sweetness of the Peppadew Pep, kind of like the saltiness of the Parm, and then just the creaminess of the tuna sal. It just works. It's like there's a party in my mouth and everybody's invited. So you can check that out at 42nd and Boulevard, hoagiesandhops.com, and our friends at Chili Water Tap Room right next door. You still owe me a beer.
For what?
You owe me money, too, which we'll settle up after the show. You owe me some money. Do you have Venmo?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll put in a Venmo request maybe for that. Yeah. Hero of the Week. This is an event that has been increasing in popularity, I feel like. Like, this is much more mainstream now than it was 15 or 20 years ago. It's still not all the way mainstream. But people are realizing how cool college baseball and college softball are.
Yeah.
And the College World Series. And I love the format. I love, the regional, super regional, and then, best of 3, double elimination, the whole deal. Congratulations to the Vols. First ever baseball crown. They rallied, to win games 2 and 3 to knock off Texas A&M. It was an all-SEC final in Omaha. Peyton Manning was there. Who's that country guy that's...
How many jokes did they make about the fact Peyton Manning was in Omaha?
I didn't even think about that, honestly. Morgan...
Wallen?
Wallen? Okay, great. I don't listen. Tennessee won 60 games this year. They were 60-13,
Sure.
but they had fallen agonizingly short. They lost in the final in 21. They were the top overall seed, and I think they lost to Notre Dame in the Super Regionals in 22, and then they were eliminated last year also in Omaha. So four straight Omaha trips, and they finally
lost
win.
3 games in their postseason. 3. 1 in the SEC tournament, 2 in the College World Series tournament. You want to guess the 3 schools that beat them?
Texas A&M won game
That's
1.
one.
I don't know who beat them in the SEC tournament. Vanderbilt.
That's correct. That's
Really?
2.
Oh, wow. And Evansville.
Yep, and Evansville.
Yeah. Evansville beat them.
How about those Purple Aces, baby?
Yeah. Good job to Evansville, and good job to the Vols. I really don't like Tennessee sports, I decided.
Why?
Their fans are completely obnoxious and insane, but it's a great athletic program.
I think
and
the fans are
I don't think they always do things above board, particularly in football.
What do you mean?
Purdue has had a great run against Tennessee here in men's basketball and football over the last, 5 years. Beat them in the Elite Eight. Beat them in the Sweet 16. Beat them in the Elite Eight.
Rocky Top's cool, though.
Beat them in the Music City Bowl. Rocky Top is cool. Do you know why Tennessee fans wear orange?
No.
Go to the game on Saturday, hunt on Sunday, and pick up trash the rest of the week. Buddy of mine told me that's a Florida grad. It's probably not appropriate to tell those.
Florida was orange also.
Well, yeah, right. That's what I told him. He's like, no, not Vol orange. I'm like, all right, man. You grew up in Connecticut. You can't be like, he's like Mr. SEC now. And I'm like, you grew up in suburban Connecticut.
Why did he pick Florida?
It's a great school.
It is, but did he go to school there?
Yeah.
Oh,
he went to Florida. And our buddy Mike Killebrew, our former boss, who fired us,
very good.
Went to Florida.
Good school.
Yeah, he went to Florida, got his degree, fired us.
That's right.
He
left the market, came back just to fire us.
That's right. He left, came back, fired us, and then he still asks us out sometimes for lunch.
And then he got fired.
That. And then everybody got fired. There was that guy down in Louisville that. It was like Game of Thrones, like Red Wedding, it was a coup.
Every 2 months,
it was a coup, man.
You hear who's laughing.
Everybody's getting throat slit. It was ugly over there at 6161 Fall Creek. We come back, no throat slitting, but a lot of great sports entertainment action. I can't wait. I'm not a follower of this anymore, but it's coming here to Indianapolis, and I love the live aspect of it, and I love the economic impact of it. And we're going to talk about it when we return. It was just announced yesterday on Monday. It's Corey and Schultz, presented by the Bailey & Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey Wood presents Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us on this. I guess this will be the last show of June, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
July,
I already declared it the first week
That's
of
right.
June, so what the hell?
July 2nd will be our next show, so this will be the last week of June. If you are in the market for a new home, you need to get pre-approval for that mortgage. Inventory is still very low. It's a competitive housing market, even though obviously interest rates are up. Got to call our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group, 855-350-HOME, or their website, bawfg.com.
That's right.
18 Indiana branch locations, 5-star customer service, and Jake, you always hit on this. Most importantly of all, they are in the community, and they give everything that they can back to the community.
Totally.
Wherever they are.
During their golf
Southern
outing,
Indy based, but
during
wherever
their
they
golf
are.
outing, it's great because they have the groups that come up, school kids, things like that have been touched by the different philanthropies they do, which is very cool.
Yeah, the tornado relief down in Whiteland, which is their home base, and all of that. Mike and his team do a phenomenal job, and also they run a great business. So 5-star customer service and all of that. If you want to check them out, 855-350-HOME. Mike did my home mortgage, and luckily we're going to be in that house for like 30 years, so I don't have to worry about that again.
How long you been there?
10.
So you're already
April of 14, yeah.
a third of the way through the run.
Yeah.
Brand new basement, brand new bar. You got to.
Well, we invested in the house knowing that we weren't going to leave because
Right.
it was either do the basement and with our friends at Chateau Kitchens, by the way, and do the kitchen or move, and we didn't want to move. And we love Midtown, and it's hard to get into Midtown. There just aren't a lot of houses available in Midtown.
Meridian Kessler or Butler Tarkington.
We're in Butler Target, yeah, or Sobro. There are lots of neighborhoods, Broad Ripple, that feed into Midtown. The northern portion of Crown Hill.
The north side of Indianapolis.
Yeah, northern portion of Crown Hill is also Midtown. So north side would be like up towards Nora. That'd be north side. Yeah.
One of the
Meridian
two of us has lived here their whole life.
Meridian Hills is, well, one of the two of us is cool and hip and down with the verbiage. Indianapolis is a very different place than it was in 1987, buddy. So let's talk about what I was just teasing.
Speaking of that, how about the Pan Am Cauldron? Can we discuss?
No, we already did. We did that on last week's show.
Did we discuss it though?
Yeah.
Do
don't
think
remember
it's
this?
Do you think it's under that thing?
We discussed it on last week's show. If you want to, you can go back to last week's show.
I don't
episode
remember
191. Yeah, we did. We spent.
I have to go
probably
do
too
radio
much
after
time
this,
on
and I
it.
forget what we talked about.
Probably did too much on that.
Do we have the picture? Of the cauldron?
WrestleMania and the crown jewel events of WWE are coming to Indianapolis.
Okay, can you explain to me, Derek, the difference between? And I don't mean that condescendingly. I'm being serious. I've never been a huge WWE fan. I get how big it is. I mean, I understand it, but I've never really actively followed it. So there are 3 events that make up the WWE, correct?
The crown jewel events.
Okay, and those are
WrestleMania, which would be their Wimbledon.
okay.
SummerSlam, which would be, I don't know, the French Open. And the Royal Rumble, which would be the U.S. Open.
And all 3 of them are going to be in Indy.
Yes,
Is
over
that-
an 8-year span. The only one that's been announced so far is the Royal Rumble, which has never come to Indy. Indy had WrestleMania at the old Hoosier Dome in '92, and then they had SummerSlam in '07 or '08, somewhere around there, late 2000s. They've never had the Royal Rumble. That'll be in 2025 next year.
Okay.
Yeah. $350 million economic impact. WrestleMania alone draws 150,000 fans over 2 days.
Now,
And
hold on.
200
Let
mil.
me figure something out real quick here.
Yeah.
Okay, you said 150,000 fans.
Yeah. Well, that's just for WrestleMania.
Okay, so but you're saying the 350 is the impact.
The 350 is all 3 events.
Okay.
Yeah. All 3 events.
Okay,
That's what
that
they're
may be-
projecting.
So
I don't think that's outlandish.
That means each event, every single person is responsible for $1,000.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's too outlandish. Hotel stay, right? Food.
That's assuming that everybody
Tickets.
That's everybody that's coming in is from out of town.
Yeah, but I mean, you've seen these economic projections before, right? Where they're like 900 million, and you're like,
Yeah, I know. My only, and then I promise I'm done with it. I think it's great that Lucas Oil is finally being used to bring in these events for Indianapolis at the rate in which, I mean, I know they've had a Super Bowl, at the rate in which we're seeing these events. But 40% of every dollar that comes through goes to the Colts. So in terms of the ticket sales, the concessions, the parking on site, there's really no profit for the city of Indianapolis. So it has to be out-of-towners coming in. to stay in hotels and eat and drink a lot, which I hope they do.
And I think it's another thing that, kind of like the just completed U.S. swim trials, it's a reputation play. Once Indy shows that they can do this, then, the U.S. swim trials, they're never going to go anywhere else, right? Or if they do go somewhere else, it'll be a football stadium because they're going to go to the table and say, Omaha, your little basketball gym's not going to work anymore.
Right.
We've raised the bar as Indy has. I've just been shocked, Jake. This feels like Indianapolis feels like it's the core of the WWE audience, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, aren't you surprised that we haven't had more events here? Like, I feel like I don't know the exact history, but I would guess Cleveland, Ohio.
I would assume
has had all of these events.
Derek, I would assume that McAfee's being rooted in Indianapolis.
Yes,
has to be
I do
player,
think
right?
I'll give Pat some credit there. I do think that has something to do with it. But the WWE has never done this before with a U.S. city where they've said, "Hey, here's the agreement, 3 events." It's always been a la carte.
Right.
It's been you can have WrestleMania, or you can have SummerSlam, or you can have Survivor Series, or you can have Royal Rumble. But I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited to see. Hopefully, I'll be able to go see Mania. The Rumble is great. I love the Rumble. I remember going over to Matt Stolman's house when I was a kid, and we'd watch all the pay-per-view.
The Rumble's which one?
You throw them out of the ring. You put everybody in the ring. They come in every couple of minutes, and whoever is the last one in the ring wins.
And that's all scripted, right?
No. I mean, there are things that are written and things that are determined, but no, scripted it's not, no.
But they know going into it who's going to win.
They have an idea, but yeah, it's genuine. It's genuine. My buddy Stolman used to write for SmackDown. He used to travel with WWE. Really cool.
Did he enjoy it?
He did, but it was a lot. And the wrestlers would all try to buddy up in a lot of cases, or influence the writers because they wanted them to get a bump. They wanted to get
Does
a push.
that include the female wrestlers?
Yeah, but a lot of the female wrestlers were in relationships. At least this was 15 years ago when my buddy was doing this. According to him, with some of the other male wrestlers already, so they weren't available.
Well, I mean, but
not that Stolman was interested. I'm pretty sure there was probably a policy against dating or whatever. But it was very much sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Yeah.
Really?
According to him, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He said it was like probably what being on the road with, Motley Crue was like.
Really?
Yeah. He said it was pretty wild.
Okay.
Good time, but it wasn't a lifestyle that he could sustain. And plus, the writers had like a shelf life of like 18 months. Because Vince fired a guy apparently one time because he brought him the wrong energy drink to a meeting. He said, "You're fired."
Really?
Yeah. Apparently.
Now that Vince McMahon's out, right?
Yeah.
He's had some problems.
Yeah. So now it's Triple H.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know his finishing move?
Triple H?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Actually.
The pedigree. So here, I'll show you. Let me stay on mic here. I think I could do it on the chair. Right? Is this okay, Vince? I don't want to break anything.
This has disaster written all over.
So you put the person's head in between your legs like this, and then you take both of their arms like this, and then you just go down like that with your knees. Sorry, I didn't mean to break the bobbleheads. Pedigree. Really, really sick finishing move.
Why is it called
one of my
pedigree?
favorites? I don't know. I don't know the history behind pedigree, but
I mean, like,
yeah, one of my favorite finishing moves.
Okay.
Yeah, and there were lots of really, really great. The Rock's ones always sucked. I never liked Rock Bottom or the People's Elbow. I thought those were dumb. I never liked The Rock. I like him now. I like him now, but he's become obviously an icon that has transcended wrestling. But when he was, when I was watching WWE was the late '90s, which was a really good time to be
Rock
watching.
is the smell what you're cooking guy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Know your role and shut your mouth, jabroni, all that stuff. I loved Mick Foley, who we got to meet in studio, who was a Bloomington guy. Yeah, right, and he was Mankind and Dude Love and Cactus Jack and a lot of other guys.
We've had several that we've done. Who were the two guys that wore the masks?
Lucha Dragons. Lucha Dragons came in studio. That's right. Cool. I forgot they did. We had Kevin Owens in studio. Oh, we had Charlotte Flair in studio. And
not a great personality.
Charlotte Flair did not. All these other people that we had in studio were great, and they really wanted to be there. Charlotte Flair would have rather been anywhere else. And I wore my wrestling singlet. Remember I came in, I did my intro? Because I had a great amateur wrestling career in the BY Dub, which was in Fairfield County, Connecticut. We had a couple of rings. We had one in Trumbull. We had one in Monroe. Backyard wrestling. And I was the announcer / sometimes a wrestler. So I would get into the ring sometime, and my name was Drake Triumph.
I mean, it's not a bad name.
It wasn't Drake. It was Drake Triumph. That's how you. And I actually did my own announcements. So I announced all of the wrestlers. So we had a karaoke machine at Dave Wakely's shed in his backyard, and we'd come down the ramp of the shed and then into the ring. But then Greg Sanfernandre separated his shoulder, and then there was no more BY Dub after that.
Did you guys have female friends when you were in high school?
We did not generally. Well, Dave's sister sometimes would be around. She was older.
Dave's the one that separated
his garage was back behind he had a big plot. His family had like 2 or 3 acres, and they had a garage that was behind the wrestling ring. So sometimes his sister would come out and get her car and then drive around. They had a back driveway, a back exit on their property. But outside of that, we didn't have any females that would attend. It was mostly just guys.
Did you find that?
Just guys being dudes.
Did you ever wonder why that was?
No, I mean, I was focused on winning.
Did you wear your singlet?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes I usually just wear cargo shorts, but yeah.
What was the fellow's older sister's name?
Dave Wakely's sister?
Yeah.
Julie.
Okay, and was Julie an attractive gal?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Julie
I don't know what happened to Julie.
Okay, well, she gets in her car to drive around the property and sees, and you were how old?
I would have been 15.
Okay. So she sees a bunch of 15-year-old boys in leotards jumping around.
Well, Steve Felmuth was 16.
Okay. 15 and
He was a year
16-year-old
older.
boys in leotards.
Not everyone wore singlets. Some people went Steve went shirtless.
Okay, and you're jumping off of plywood.
Yeah, so we'd go over to Home Depot and we'd get plywood boards and we'd go through there and we'd set them up on what are those sawhorses? We'd set them up on sawhorses and do all of that. Yeah.
And you're wondering why Julie never stopped to truly embrace the moment, right?
She waves sometimes.
Oh, I'm sure
She waves sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Drake Triumph, and you know, if you're impressed by my build now, back then I was 125 pounds. So,
Okay.
you know, I was pretty cut up back then.
What do you weigh now?
155.
Okay.
So I put on 30 pounds of pure muscle.
Okay. And that causes your upper lip to, again...
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, you did.
No.
You
I
did.
didn't
You
do
look
anything.
constipated when you do that.
I didn't do anything. So even though I don't follow it anymore, and I'm not a wrestling fan anymore, the live shows are tremendous. It'll be great for Indy. I'm super excited to have
It's cool.
wrestling.
It's definitely
here
cool.
for sure.
For sure.
Let's get to our Love Heating and Cooling Love That Play, brought to you by our friends at Love Heating and Cooling, 353-2141, love-hvac.com. Summertime, if your AC is acting up or it just needs to be serviced, give our friends at Love Heating and Cooling a call, 353-2141. They've been in business since 1920. That is a long time, 104 years. Chris and John haven't been alive that long. They're, what, 52?
They've been there for half of it.
Yeah, but they've been there for, exactly half, right?
51,
52.
Derek.
Or 51, okay, 51. But fourth generation, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Which is incredible, isn't
Their grandfather, Elmer, their dad, Phil.
Elmer's
Chris
the
and John.
perfect name.
Totally.
Yeah,
and then Elmer was the son. I'm not actually sure the name of their great-grandfather. But listen, how do you last that long? I mean, you take any business class and you realize that family generations, family businesses, often it starts to taper off. Not with Love Heating and Air because they have great product. They have knowledge of the product. They treat the customers like family. They're honest. It's a big thing when you have people coming into your home. And 24-hour on-call maintenance. Everything you get from Love Heating and Air. And they bring us each and every week our Love That Play. Derek, I have my own nominee, but I will let you begin first.
Well, you're the one that brought this up, actually. I think the Cole Hawker setting
Correct.
the record, right?
Correct. And John Love involved with Cathedral Athletics.
There you go.
And so his wife, Molly, notably, a Cathedral grad. But Cole Hawker of Cathedral now running in Eugene, Oregon, at the U.S. Olympic trials in the 1500, not only wins to go represent the United States in Paris in the Olympic Games, but sets a record in doing so. And a kid that, my friend Tiffany Bettner, her kids ran cross country with him at Cathedral, and she said, yeah, he had his own practice. Like they did practice, and then he had practice.
Can you imagine going to – and we had Trumbull was the highest – it would be the 6A in Connecticut. In Connecticut, high school sports is far less. So we had some good athletes in my high school. It wasn't some like little podunk farm town or anything like that. But can you imagine being on a high school team with a guy that was an Olympian or even a future Olympian?
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane what these guys and gals do. But congratulations to Cole. I wonder if that's an event that USA Track and Field is based here.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
But I don't know where they'd put it.
But
Do we have a facility for it?
Michael Carroll Stadium used to do a lot lot, but it's kind of outgrown that,
Used
right?
to, yeah.
Right.
But knowing Indy, they would just build their own probably, right? These sports core people and these guys.
Derek,
and
I'm telling
gals,
you, it is time to start talking about Indianapolis as an Olympic summer city. I'm not kidding you.
We're getting. I'm being serious. We're getting towards that now that we're doing this U.S. swim trials and all this stuff.
Yes.
I mean, we've had a Super Bowl.
They'd
we'll
have to build
Mania.
they'd have to build a stadium for the opening ceremonies and for the track and field probably.
Yeah.
But
Natatorium you can use too as a second site. Victory Field is a
you
great
can go
park.
all the way from Louisville to Chicago and Dayton and everything else.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild that Indy's on that path. I think maybe not in your lifetime. I think we will see an Olympic bid in my lifetime.
Your
Maybe
lifetime's
yours.
not. What's your lifetime going to extend past mine?
Oh, buddy, I'm going to live to 90 plus. Easy.
Okay, so that
I
would
quit smoking at 30.
So that puts you, if you live to be
I
90,
basically don't drink.
I'll shut it down at 70. So yeah, you got 30 years on me. Yeah.
70's aggressive with that.
Yeah, you're probably
Right
right.
in there. If you make it to 65, I think that's a good run.
Yeah,
you've
that's
had a good life. We
quite good.
talked about this when you were on the hospital bed, and I was the first person that you called when
No.
she came to.
No, that's not
We
true.
talked about this.
Well, I never was
reflecting on
knocked
life,
out.
reflecting on life and all that.
Yeah, never was knocked
Well,
out.
when you first talked to somebody outside of Shannon
It was
and
Mac.
your parents. Well, Mac was there with you. Okay, so I forgot. Mac brought you there, but then the Derek Schultz was the next person.
Mottman.
Derek Schultz. The doctor on the operating table does not count.
No operating.
Does not count.
Well, kind of. They did go inside.
We come back. Should losing players win MVPs? It just happened in hockey. We'll discuss that. Plus quick hits and Chateau Kitchen's Botter Bowl Bleep. Still plenty to get to on this episode 192 of Corey and Schultz, presented by Bailey and Wood on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey.
Sorry, Vince gave me no cue. Oh, I need water. Yeah, Vince gave me no cue there. We have like the B team in there today, so Vince was late on the cue. That's okay. That's okay. Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz. I'll have Sean get that in post. I don't know if we can trust Sean to get that in post, but we'll try. 3, 2, 1. Hi, welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents.
What are
Corey
we
and
doing
Schultz.
here?
ISC Sports Network. Vince was late on the queue, so I still had tuna. Still had tuna in my mouth.
This show 192.
Yeah.
Each show has how many breaks?
4?
4?
Yeah.
Okay, so 192 times 384, so you're looking at 380, 760, so 768 times we've taken it out of break, and you still can't figure it out.
We have 11 minutes here, so no more time to waste. Oilers star Connor McDavid was announced as the winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy, which is the MVP of the postseason. And you may have noticed that the Oilers lost. So this is only the 6th time in NHL history the Conn Smythe has gone from the losing team. He's only the second skater, so non-goaltender, to win. And that happened almost 50 years ago. 1976 was when that happened with Reggie Leach of the Flyers. He had 42 points this postseason, the 4th most in a single postseason, behind only Gretzky, who also won the Conn Smythe in that season. His 11 points in the Stanley Cup Final were 2 points shy of, guess who, the record, Wayne Gretzky, in 1988. It makes sense, right? He was the best player on the ice by far, and I actually like that fact. Individual
if he
awards.
if he wasn't on that roster, then where are the Edmonton Oilers?
Individual awards. I understand team success being an aspect, obviously, and even a large aspect of individual awards, but they shouldn't be the end-all, be-all.
Let me ask you this.
It's an individual award.
I'm going to do this Twitter poll. And I know you mentioned earlier, it's a good point, but for the sake of the discussion, of the 4 major sports, Which one has the most widely accepted GOAT?
Well, at this point, because of the LeBron arguments, it's the NHL with Gretzky, right?
It's got to be,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's got to be.
yeah. Because NFL or Major League Baseball, you hear 6, 7, 8, 10 different guys that people name as the GOAT. But it's Gretzky. I mean, Gretzky just has all the records, all of it. So I have no problem with it.
The one record
I think it's refreshing.
You know Gretzky's most impressive record?
Oh, what's that?
If I'm not mistaken, Wayne Gretzky holds the record for most records held.
Oh, does he really? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. Like literally every single NHL record, it's like outside of like a goaltending record.
If you ever watch Jeopardy and the final Jeopardy category is documents, the answer is always Magna Carta. Always. Every time.
You've said that before. Yeah.
Likewise, if you are talking hockey
One
trivia, the answer is always Wayne Gretzky.
One time it was the Louisiana Purchase. I did the final.
That's not a document.
Yeah.
It was an act, not a document.
Yeah, it was an act, but they put it in writing on parchment paper with quill ink. Yeah. That's how they did it back then.
What's quill ink?
Quill ink, like a quill feather, and you take the ink and then you.
Yeah,
goes in a little bottle. Like Benny Franklin.
Yeah, but you don't.
That's
say,
how he wrote.
You don't say Bic ink.
What?
Bic is the pen. You don't say Bic ink.
Quill ink.
Yeah, but you don't say. You would just say it's
inked with quill.
No, because the quill might.
I'm more well-read than you on
spread, but
18th
it's not
century customs
and
history.
There's no quill in the ingredient of the ink.
Going back to the 21st century, let's get some quick hits in because we only have about 5 minutes left. Indy's performance in the U.S. swim trials regarded a success. They didn't get the 30,000 they wanted to.
It was great.
Yeah, I went too. It was fun. 285,000 fans, a 60% increase from last year in Omaha. Of course, they set the single-day record, 22,209. I thought this was pretty cool. The competition pool going to be disassembled and loaded onto 4 semi-trucks, taking it to Fort Wayne. And the warm-up pool is going somewhere else in Indy, I think. They're like not donating it, but it's going to a not-for-profit, and they're taking 20 cents on the dollar for it.
I'm curious of this in terms of where you sat. Where did you sit for it?
Center, section 200. They were the Purdue seats because we sponsored.
Because we were in the 400,
and you felt like you needed to be higher up. Yeah.
No, 400 was perfect.
Yeah.
I think people that got down low wasn't as good, right?
For me, our seats are pretty cool. The problem for me is that our day was the 1,500-meter relays. So those races were 15 minutes. Yeah, That's a long time for a swimming event. Like swimming event, I'm used to like dead sprint. Yeah. And you're kind of sitting there and you're like, damn,
I saw
this
world
is a long
record,
race.
which was cool. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was great.
I would have liked to see Katie Ledecky swim. In hindsight, I would have planned it around when she was swimming, but I didn't think of that until after the fact.
It was cool, though.
Thoughts with John Force in his recovery. Really scary wreck.
I'll tell you what.
He's still in ICU.
I love John Force. One of the great personalities in motorsports and sports in general. A true champion, 71 years old, right? Multi-time champion in NHRA, and that was an ugly incident, and he's in ICU. I think he was alert and talking, which is good. But
he's expected to recover.
Yeah, but I mean, that was ugly.
Is this his Mario Andretti flip it on its head moment?
I mean, it may be.
I mean, he's won 16 championships. At what point do you have to prove he's one of the greatest to ever do it? Certainly the greatest funny car driver ever, but one of the greatest to do it in NHR history. I don't know. I don't want to make that decision for him. That's his to make, but you just kind of wonder if this is going to be the one that has him moving on. We come back on the show. We will wrap up with Chateau Kitchen's Buy It or Bull Bleep. It is Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Hopefully Vince gives me the correct cue next time.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
It's great. I got 10 seconds. Clear, loud. Got a 5-second countdown. So
that was supposed to be me taking it out.
Good for Vince. Why?
because we discussed it during
No.
the break.
Every time you're supposed to take it out, you throw it to me at the last second.
By the way, you just saw in the ad for Bailey and Wood, Anthony Calhoun. Congratulations to Anthony for, again, another massively successful golf outing, raising over $500,000 for Teachers Treasures of Indiana.
And an Emmy.
And an Emmy. For the golf outing?
No, I got an Emmy just for the work that they did.
You have tuna in your mustache.
Oh, did it go a little bit in my mustache?
I don't know.
There we go. I got it.
It's amazing to me.
They're little Parmesan particles.
It's amazing to me that this, whatever
It's a
it
treat.
is
It's like second lunch.
that we're doing, has not totally sabotaged and torpedoed what I have left of a media career. And furthermore, that you work in public relations now is flabbergasting.
Yeah, I do. Rocket ship.
Yeah, okay.
Just hopped on one AM radio rocket ship to another. That's all. You know, Purdue sent people to the moon. Did you know that?
I've heard that.
They're sending me to the moon right now. The PR communications moon. Let's get to Chateau Kitchen's Buy It or Bull Bleep, brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens.
You think on a summer day when there's a full moon that Neil Armstrong, when he was still living, or Buzz Aldrin, or Mike Collins, I believe was the third guy's name, do you think they ever just look up at the moon and go, been there?
It's pretty cool. I'm actually reading books about it right now, which is really, really cool.
Does it say which TV studio it was?
No, it's not faked. It was all the genuine thing. First and last man on the moon. Most recent man, Gene Cernan and Neil Armstrong, both Purdue grads. At Chateau Kitchens, Instagram and Facebook for before and after pictures, chateaukitchens.com. And Sean Walker's probably in there wondering, no, IU has not sent anybody to the moon. So there's never been a IU Hoosier on the moon's surface. Statement number one, like the 2013 draft with Giannis, someone will be a surprise superstar in the 2024 draft.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the odds are that there's going to be somebody that jumps out, right? Just based on the law of averages. So, yeah, sure.
Athletically, I can see why you would bet high on any of these. Like that Sar guy is like 7 foot tall, and he can do all kinds of. I mean, but this is just what guys are now. Like to you and me, it's still a novelty, right? Where you're like, whoa, he's 7'1" and he can shoot threes and pass the ball and dribble through his legs. But that's what all these guys can do now, man.
I have one for you.
All these guys.
A Buy It or Bull Schultz.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Buy It or Bull Schultz. The number one pick in the 2024 NFL draft will be an American.
I don't know who's the international player.
Well, aren't the top two players from France?
Oh, you said NFL draft. And I was like,
sorry.
Oh,
NBA,
yeah. I was
NBA,
like, yeah.
Sorry. NBA draft. Sorry.
No,
the
because
upcoming NBA draft, the number one pick will be an American.
Because isn't there the report that the Hawks gave the other French guy a guarantee, and he's definitely going to go number one? I thought I saw that report. Maybe I was wrong. Our buddy Evan Sidery, who grew up in Westfield, he's like this big. He's built a nice platform for himself, but he's been somewhat of an aggregator of all of these national accounts, and then he blasted out himself, and he's built an audience based on that. And he has his own sources and things too. But and a great kid. I really liked working with Evan when he was an intern, and you could tell that he was smart and going places. But
was that Jimmy?
I thought, yeah, you'd call all our interns Jimmy, but I thought Atlanta had given a guarantee to the other guy. Maybe I'm wrong. We should text.
A lot of
Evan
chatter,
right
a lot of noise. We'll see.
Evan right now and see. Thanks to our great sponsors, Chateau Kitchens, of course. Bailey and Wood Financial Group, the presenting sponsor of the show. Hoagies and Hops
Buy
and
it or
Chili
Bull
Water
Schultz.
Tap.
I'm going to Venmo you that money.
42nd and Boulevard. You better buy it, or I'm going to buy it that you're going to have a physical altercation. And Love Heating and Cooling.
I'm afraid of Drake Triumph.
For Vince, even though he did more like a C+ job today, and our friend Sean Walker. He's Jake. I'm Derek. We will see you next time here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Have a fantastic week.
Julie just drove by.
At Bailey and